What's happening, my ninjas? Appreciate everybody for tapping back in with me for another video. I wanted to choose this topic of how to become a network engineer for anybody that's out there that doesn't have any experience. You know, that underdog that's just trying to get into computer networking and they're just trying to figure out how to go about that. Or, you know, you might be working as a network admin for a NOC in the network operations center, or for an MSP, which is a managed service provider, and you're just running through tickets, but you're aspiring to get onto that other side of network engineering. I just wanted to share my experience. I see, definitely after researching the topic, just mainly looking at YouTube, other content creators, and just seeing how everybody's putting it out there, I just want to switch up the narrative a little bit, if you will. Because what I see out there a lot of the time is that you got to be super into this stuff, passionate about computer networking in order to get to a network engineer position, because you're going to have to get the certifications. You're going to have to do the work and get the experience. I could tell you right now that I am not super passionate about computer networking. As soon as I get off of my 9-to-5 job or whatever, I'm not passionate to just, oh, let me look up the newest emerging technology in computer networking. I can't wait to read more dry stuff about all of this technical stuff and how everything works together in the newest protocol, or study protocols and lab stuff up. Like, no, I'm not super passionate about that. And not to knock anybody that is. If that's your thing, if you want to know about everything there is to know about computer networking, more kudos to you. If you want to know the exact amount, like breaking down a packet to the frame, to the header, and knowing every bit and byte and memorizing that and all of that stuff as you're studying for the CCNA, kudos to you. Go do that. But at the same time, I can tell you right now, I've been working with my CCNA for several years now. If you've seen some of my previous videos, I've been in this game for about 10 years. Got my CCNA. That CCNP is extremely hard to get. A lot of that falls on me, right? But at the same time, I still managed to become a network engineer without having to obtain that CCNP. And I think that anybody can really do that if you're aspiring to do that. And no, you don't have to be passionate about it. And you might say that maybe I might not be the best engineer out there, but I do like myself. Over pretty much any network engineer that has been doing it as long as I have, I done seen it all. I done seen many different environments, work with several different technologies, from firewalls to load balancers to WAN optimizers. You name it, I done seen it, I done touched it. And that's just why I like myself as a network engineer, because I may not live, eat, and breathe this stuff, but I do go to work, and I get busy when I go to work. However, I do want to say that you're going to have a passion for something if you're going to try to attain a goal. You could use the word passion, desire. There's got to be something that moves you. And what really moves me, that I've learned about myself, is really just self-development, both personal and professional self-development, and just challenging myself to always grow and expand my consciousness, whether that's reading books about self-development and all of that kind of stuff. That's what I found out about myself. And it helped me also discover that I think that I believe it's everyone's purpose in life to develop their self, whether you do it consciously or you don't even know that you're doing it. You have leveled up in your life if you started working at just bagging groceries at a grocery store, and then you worked your way up to the grocery manager or something like that. Whatever. It's not like somebody gets into a job and just like, nah, I don't want to get more money, or, you know, money isn't everything. I know that, but you don't want to. There's not like somebody that's just like, nah, I just want to be a bump on the log. Yeah, there's certain circumstances, things happen in people's lives. I'm not knocking that for anybody. But I'm just saying, personally, for me, I just think that everybody wants to, whether they know it or not, they definitely want to level up and develop themselves, both personally and professionally, whatever they're doing or whatever, however your life is, whether you're at the top of the top or the bottom of the bottom. If you've been following my channel, you know that I started no experience, felony background, and at the time, I couldn't even imagine becoming a network engineer. I was honestly just really trying to pay the bills, but I definitely wanted more. Again, I wanted to level up. I didn't want to just pay the bills. I wanted to be able to live comfortably. And I seen that IT, like I said, when I Googled it, I think even till to this day, if you Google it, IT is going to be around, and you know that medical field is going to be around. And with all these emerging technologies like crypto and AI and everything, I really don't see no other path that you could really be really kind of secure with in your career is just joining into like an IT career and growing in an IT career, because IT is not going to go anywhere. It's like our whole infrastructure and everything is built around it unless they shut down the internet or something like that. And what I learned, the truth is that there is definitely, coming from my background, there's no certain path. There's no kind of like cookie cutter way to become a network engineer. Yes, there's a traditional way. You can start off, I guess, in high school taking all the classes, and you can then go to college, and then you can then go into your career that way, or you can join the military and then I guess get the career through that way. But in my experience, I didn't seen it all. I didn't seen the college graduate that went into debt just like myself, and you could go through the college way. I done seen the cat that where I was working in the NOC as a lead, and I was training a technician that had no experience, no background, just high school diploma, came straight in and was a network engineer in under a year. And he had no certifications or anything. So I done seen it all. And I seen the person with the military background work their way up to a network engineer. So I've seen all different kind of walks of life and everybody doing it. So there's not just one certain path. You just got to follow your own path, and you just got to have a desire to either to grow in your career or just to become a network engineer. And that's the main point that I want to get across, because these companies, and that's what I found right now, is these companies just need somebody. They got pain points and they're just trying to resolve them, and they need a network engineer to resolve those kind of pain points for them. And if you can just go in there, just because you don't have a certification or you don't have a college degree, but you can fix their problem with your eyes closed, they're going to throw the bag at you and they're going to hire you, period. I believe that I took the longest route by trying to figure out my own path, by going to college, getting into debt, then getting first I started getting certifications first, and then I went and got a degree or whatever, going to college, and then gaining that experience and taking on all kinds of complex issues to build my skill set, and so that I could become a network engineer. That took me a very long time, and I just wanted to share this video to hopefully cut that time in half, or even lessen that time for anybody that's just jumping in it, or that may be stuck in the mud, if you will, if they might be just trying to get to that next level and they don't really understand how to get to a network engineer. So let's jump right into it. But before I get into all the skills and the attributes, you got to get a certification and all of this other stuff. You got to get the experience. You got to interview at jobs good and all of that. Before I get into all of that kind of stuff, I just want to kind of give you a quick story to give you kind of like a practical example of how I became a network engineer. That way you can have some kind of frame of reference. So my story, again, you could see this on my channel trailer or whatever, but basically I started off working in a NOC after I got my CCNA. And again, a NOC is a network operations center, so you just running through ticket after ticket, and I was like a network admin, just fixing all kinds of issues. But what kind of separated me was I got several industry IT certs within 5 years of working in that NOC and just gaining that kind of experience. I got like Juniper certifications, Cisco certification, and just several other different kind of just certifications in the IT industry. And I not only did I get that certification, which I want to stress, I also applied the knowledge from the certification. It's one thing to know what a router is, but it's another thing to actually apply the knowledge of routing and switching. That's going to be your first thing that you got to understand to make that jump to network engineer. There's, and I'll talk about this later, it's just levels of proficiency, right? With a network admin, you just have that kind of novice, or I would say like a basic kind of level of proficiency, meaning you just have awareness of the technology, and then you got limited experience working with the technology. When you raise that level of proficiency, that's when you get into practical application of the technology, meaning that you can implement the technology. You know it backwards and forwards. That's where you can troubleshoot it and try to isolate issues more quickly. Even if the issue is really complex, you can break it down into just like smaller sections. That way that you can, once you break it down into smaller sections, that helps you isolate it to, oh, this is a network issue, or oh, this is actually a server issue, or some other type of issue with the physical hardware that you're working with. So applying that knowledge and everything really separated me amongst my peers, so much so that my director at the time, which was also, I was blessed to have, just like he was my mentor as well, just noticed that, and he gave me the opportunity to become a NOC lead. And he didn't offer this opportunity to me just once, not twice. He had offered it to me for like 3 times for me to take on the position. And the reason being is because each time he offered it to me, I was just like, nah, I'm cool. I just want to be a NOC tech and just keep working the tickets. Number one, I liked solving the issues, and I had a kind of a rhythm down because, like I said, I was kind of like 5 years into that company. Again, I had the felony background, so I wasn't trying to go look for no other jobs. I didn't even think that it would be even possible with a felony background, because you know they say it stays on your record and it follows you around for the rest of your life, which is true. But I was just cooling. So it took him to explain to me. And then on top of that, I didn't want to do it because I told him straight up, again, because he was my mentor and we had a kind of cool relationship. And I just told him straight up that I looked at that lead position as basically, I seen all the other leads on the night shift and the other leads that moved up to management positions and everything. I just looked at them as glorified babysitters for grown people. Like, they were just responsible for, if anything happened, that they had to take that leadership role, and they have to accept the responsibility, even though they told, I sit there and seen them told techs not to do this several times, and the techs are still just going to do whatever they want. They grown and they know they're not going to get in trouble for it. And again, I am not trying to diss nobody that's in that lead position, because I've been in that NOC lead position. I'm just saying, for me, I did not want to do it for those reasons. I kept turning it down, to where it was like the 3rd time, and he just sat me down and he was like, look, Ninja, just listen to me. He was like, you don't want to take the position, but he said, just take a look around and just really think about what you're doing. You're already taking all the escalated issues, because at that point I was like the most senior member on my shift pretty much. So all the stuff was already flowing to me, number one. Then number two, I always offered to step up if they needed something, if they needed somebody to stay later or come in earlier, or people wanted to take off for Christmas or whatever. I was already stepping up in that leadership role. And then number three, I was already taking responsibility for when there was an outage or something. I was the first to jump on the bridge call. So this cat was like a deep thinker, and he was just basically like, man, just take the position. He really didn't say take the position. He said, just take the money. You're going to be doing the same work. He said, I promise you nothing in this job is really going to change, except for maybe you might have to help with scheduling or something, which isn't even nothing technical. He was just like, just take the money, because you're already doing all of the work of a lead. Just do that. And then once he said that, it kind of clicked to me that I had already became a NOC lead. So it was like I had already did that. And I just wanted to share that, because some of y'all that are currently working in the field as a network admin, if you really sit back and think about it, you already are a network engineer. Because I took that same kind of concept and that philosophy that he gave me about you're already doing the work, so you're already a NOC lead, whether we pay you or not, you're still doing it. I took that in with my next position. And after I left that company, I went and got with another company. I was just a knock tech, and then I went in there just killing it because I used all of that information, and I had a OneNote full of just documented information of how to troubleshoot several different types of issues. And I just took that in my next role as a knock tech, and I just went and I started blowing them cats out the water. You feel me? So I just took that same philosophy and was like, wait a minute, to become a network engineer, you pretty much just got to do whatever a network engineer does. The only difference that I really seen between me and these network engineers wasn't the certification or anything like that. It was mainly just, they were just privileged to certain information that I wasn't. Like, as I became a network engineer later on, I started to see the other side of it. And the side that you're not seeing is that all the network engineers are doing, and I'm not trying to put down no network engineers or nothing like that. Yes, it's very hard and all of that there. But what I'm trying to explain is on the other side, when you're just a network admin and you're looking up to these network engineers and all of this other stuff, like, because you always got to escalate something. The only difference is that they're privileged to information. They have documents. They have meetings about the infrastructure, and they're making the changes. So if something goes wrong, of course, I'm going to know how to fix it because I have made a change on it. So I know how to roll it back, or I know everything that's going on more in depth because, number one, I do know the technology a little bit more because of the certification and because of the experience. Yes, you're definitely going to get that from being a network engineer, but really it's just being privileged to that information because as a tech, as a network tech, network admin, knock tech, however you want to say it, I just started documenting the troubles because after a while, I say probably after a year of being on the job, you pretty much see, especially if you're working with one specific environment, you pretty much see everything that can go wrong. And if you just document that kind of process and everything and develop your own process, once that issue comes in, you can quickly resolve it. The only times I had to escalate it was when they might have switched up something, the routing might have switched up or something. And that's something that I couldn't troubleshoot. Just, I wasn't that, and I'm not that good to where you can break the whole network or switch up the whole network and then I can just off the top of my head. But then when I got to them, I was just like, oh, that's all y'all did? Y'all just switched? And then I just documented that. That way, if something happened with the routing or whatever, if somebody couldn't get to the network or they had latency or something, I could just refer to my documents. So basically, that's what I wanted to share is like, that's how you really become a network engineer. And that's why I kind of shared that story. So now let's get into what I think are the 3 most important skills if you really want to develop both personally and professionally into that network engineering role, which I think that these are the skills. If I had to start all over, I wouldn't just, try to go get a college degree or go try to get the certification or get the experience. I would work on these 3 kind of pillars, I guess you could say, for becoming a network engineer. So to start off, I say the first skill that you need to develop is going to be the skill of setting goals. And goal setting is definitely a skill. I used to think before I was a network engineer and just when I was younger that everybody that set goals, all you do is just write your goals down on paper, right? Whatever goal you want, and then the goal is just going to magically appear and that's it. But after I became a network engineer, I realized that setting goals is definitely a skill and there's a lot that goes into it. So let me try to give like a quick breakdown of some actionable things that you can do to start developing that skill of setting goals. First thing you need to do is self-assessment if you want to set some goals. This means basically being real with yourself. If you have a goal of being a network engineer with no experience, you definitely going to have to be real with yourself because there's so many technologies. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you need to do hands-on work, and you're going to have to study some books and all of that kind of stuff to even become a network engineer. So you can't just wake up and just talk like this. For example, if you're going to be real with yourself and you're doing like a self-assessment, let's use exercising as a goal that you're setting. Let's say that, that you want to run 10 miles a week or something like that, or you want to lose 10 pounds. And I've seen this time and time again, and I'm even seeing it right now. It's January, so everybody sets these big, outrageous goals, knowing good and well that you can't just lose 10 pounds in 1 month. I'm sure if you eat right and you do all of that stuff, get a personal trainer, yes, you could probably lose the 10 pounds in 1 month. But 9 times out of 10, the average person, they're going to have family, going to have all of these other things coming up, work, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, you're trying to lose these 10 pounds and go to the gym. If you didn't have to do anything, right, and you didn't have to work, you didn't have no kids or nothing like that, then yes, you could probably do it. But 9 times out of 10, people that are trying to do that, you're going to have to work and everything. So just doing a self-assessment is just not setting some kind of outrageous goal or whatever, because you ultimately sabotage yourself. So like these people in the gym right now, yes, it's packed in January, but I'm willing to bet it's like this every year. By March or anything, it'll be cleared out, because life happens to everybody. So they're not disciplined enough to stay in the gym, and they set these outrageous goals where if they would have just paced themselves, they could stay in there throughout the year. And that's kind of like what I do with anything that I'm trying to obtain, like going for a certification or becoming a network engineer. Don't think that you're just going to become a network engineer in just under a month because you passed the certification. Again, like I said, you're going to have to apply that knowledge. And by applying that knowledge, you're going to have some experience and some practical examples of how you were able to apply that knowledge. So after you do the self-assessment, you're going to have a why when you're developing that goal, or the skill of setting goals. You're going to have that why. And this means, like, why are you trying to become a network engineer? Are you just going after it just for the bag or whatever? Because just like Biggie said, more money, more problems, you know. If nobody told you, if you get more money, you're going to have to pay more taxes. Are you prepared for that? Are you financially disciplined to be able to prepare to pay your taxes on time and handle all of that? I didn't know anything about that. Nobody put me onto that. Nobody in my circle was making no kind of money where you had to start paying taxes. Everybody I knew was getting taxes back. So why do you want to pay more taxes? That should be more of a question that you ask yourself when you're trying to figure that out, when you're setting that goal of becoming a network engineer. Why do I want to pay more taxes? Is it because you just want to become the best version of yourself? If that's a reason, that's a good reason or a good why. If you want to be just financially free or whatever, and you don't mind paying your taxes and figuring out how to, you know, hire somebody to make sure you save all your money on taxes and everything, none of that kind of stuff bothers you, then by all means, do it for those kind of monetary reasons. And that will anchor your goal and make it more realistic to where you don't sabotage yourself. Next thing you're going to have, which was something that I struggled with, was belief in yourself. You got to really believe that you can become a network engineer. Do you have imposter syndrome? Do you got those limiting beliefs that as soon as you become a network engineer, you're not going to be able to handle it? You're not really going to do it? Do you really think about that kind of stuff? Do you think that you could actually do it? You have to believe that you can do it. And like I said, that goes back to my story. If you're already doing the things that a network engineer does, is jumping on bridge calls, they do that. They're staying late, you know, they get up early, all that kind of stuff. If you're already putting in the work to be a network engineer, then you should believe in yourself. You shouldn't have no imposter syndrome. You should know that Google is your friend. That's what I learned most network engineers use. They're not using just straight off the top of their head, especially now. You got ChatGPT and all kinds of stuff. So no, you got to have that belief in yourself that you could Google something. And no, just Googling something is not going to get you the answer. But at least if you have your knowledge and you've been studying, you could put one and one together and then help you resolve complex issues or isolate them at least. Then finally, like I said, you got to have that passion or desire to do it. No, you don't have to have a passion for network engineering. You have to have that passion to become that network engineer though. Like, I mean, how does that person talk? How does they walk? How disciplined are they? Are they partying every weekend instead of studying? Is that the network engineer that you want to be? But if so, by all means, try to do it and drop it in the comments and let me know how that works out for you. Or are you trying to be that network engineer that studies the 30, 40 hours a week and put in that time and just lives, eats, breathes this stuff and jumps on every kind of bridge call, which is just a conference call of trying to figure out a big network outage or complex issue. You have to develop that person in your mind. And then finally, after you did all of the self-assessment, having belief in yourself, and having the desire and a passion for doing this, then you start to write it down. Then you write it down. And once you write it down, that brings it from just the ether, right? From just being in your mind to something that's more practical, something that where, okay, now you have the goals wrote down. Now the next thing you're going to do is write the steps that it takes to reach the goal. What steps do I'm going to have to study this book for X amount of hours. I'm going to have to lab on this technology for X amount of hours. I'm going to have to eat right. I'm going to have to sleep right so that I can retain the information so that I'm as healthy as possible when I go to sit for my certification exams. Once you start writing it down, that's what crystallizes, and that's how you really start to become a network engineer. So again, once you get to that part of writing it down, here are 3 simple things. First of all, say you're going to want to think about what that network engineer is. You just want to dream as big as you could possibly dream. If you want to be the top engineer in your company or whatever company you get hired at, just set that. And then the next thing, write a list of what that person would have to do. What would have to be in place for you to reach that kind of goal? And then write at least 10 kind of actionable things to do, like hands-on labs, studying for X amount of hours, eating right, whatever the case may be, whatever you come up with. And then out of that, pick just one of those things out of the 10 that you wrote down for your goals and take action on it immediately, no matter what it is. If it's reading 10 pages a day or something like that, read the 10 pages, and then that starts the flow of you setting the goals and then sticking to them and then moving forward to where you can accomplish. My ninjas, if y'all are feeling this content, please, you already know, get me in them algos. Subscribe to the channel, like it, the video, share it if y'all really feeling this content, if I'm dropping these jewels on y'all. All right, let's keep moving on to the next thing, which I kind of already alluded to earlier, and that's practical application. To truly become a network engineer, you're going to have to level up. You're going to have to raise that level of proficiency, right? So you could look at the different levels of proficiency. This is how I kind of put them in tiers, right? Like a novice or your CCNA or just that entry level kind of person. That's just, like I said, basic awareness, limited experience. And then engineer, that's intermediate. That's where you start to get the level of proficiency of the practical application. And then you got the CCIEs, right? That's the authority on it. That's the people that you can't tell them nothing about, no Cisco computer networking with Cisco equipment or whatever. The CCIEs, that's like the top tier. That's the authority and everything, right? That's the people that just study and really like are just a beast on it, right? But at this kind of like network engineer level of where I'm at, let me give you an example of practical application. So as a network admin, when I had started out, if there was a connectivity issue, you know what I'm saying? Somebody say something was down, the network was down, the computer was down, server was down or whatever. All I would have to do is just ping something, right? That would be something basic that you would do as a network admin, is ping it. But how about when their connectivity issue gets a little bit more complex and you can't just rely on that ping response, right? Because you're going to have the intermittent connectivity. Now you're going to have to try to start thinking outside the box of what's causing that intermittent connectivity, because ping is just going to tell you, yes, you got a connection, but sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So that's where the practical application, that's where you level up and you get experience. Instead of just running that basic ping, you can run an extended ping, and then you can see that there's packet loss. And then that's when you could start seeing where the packet loss is happening. You can see, oh, it's happening on the internet, and then that's a call out to the provider, or it's happening on the LAN instead of the WAN. Then you can start isolating where that trouble is to get that kind of intermittent connectivity out. Or if that doesn't help you out, right, are you able to really gather information, gather as much information rather than them just saying, oh, I have intermittent connectivity. So the engineer is going to step in after the network admin can't figure it out, I'm going to step in and I'm going to say, okay, give me source and destination IP. And then are you going to be able to trace down the stuff on the network? Are you able to use, by looking at routing tables and everything and finding your way and tracing your way to the exact port where end device is located, starting from the source to the destination? Can you use ARP to do that, to trace to a server? Have you leveled up to that, to be able to use ARP and MAC address tables and the routing tables to put everything together to be like, oh, okay, this end device is ended up over here and it was supposed to be on this VLAN and it wasn't on this VLAN, or anything like that. That's what I'm saying about that practical application, rather than just using ping and you're not getting nowhere with ping or trace route and you can't really figure something out. That's when you have to get a little bit more in depth in the trenches with it, where you're able to look at the layer 3 path and the layer 2 path that this data is taken and seeing and looking at packet captures and everything like that and TCP dumps and stuff like that to try to figure out what's going on the actual wire that communication's going over. Are you able to troubleshoot the tunnel, whether it's an overlay or an underlay issue? That's when it starts to get even more complex, rather than just saying, hey, this tunnel's down or it's in an up-down status, I don't really know what to do. How are you going to isolate that kind of trouble to where it might be a misconfiguration with the tunnel? There's ways to just know that off bat if it's just a misconfiguration with the tunnel without the logs telling you that, or if it's the underlay and there's a problem with that. There's different ways that you can isolate and resolve the issues that way. That's going to be the difference between leveling up to, I said, that practical application for that level of proficiency where you're an intermediate kind of experience with this computer network and stuff. Finally, I'd say the last and final skill to develop as a network engineer is, if you're a network admin or if you're just starting out, is just documenting everything. When you work them complex issues and you finally get a resolution from a senior engineer or a senior tech on your shift or whatever, and they finally come back with, oh, it was just we had to call Cisco TAC and they said that we had to upgrade the iOS. Document that and start building your own knowledge base, because not only does this get you more organized to where if that issue happens again, this is what happened to me in my experience. Every time we had an issue, everybody always came to me because I already knew it, because I just documented it and I was like, oh, we already seen that. You just, search in your little OneNote or whatever kind of thing you got and just be like, okay, we had this issue before and this is what happened last time. And then you just put in the same fix, and then now you can start seeing something that's trending or starting to become a chronic issue to where you're going to have to work with the engineer and be like, hey, we've seen this kind of thing happening. What kind of technology can we implement? They'll be like, oh, we have to use a different routing protocol or do something different with BGP timers or anything. Just the way that you build up to that is just documenting it. And then on top of that, now you can create processes around it. And then more importantly, now you can share the information. And once you start sharing the information, you start developing more, because now you're sharing the information. Just like me, when I'm doing these lab videos, that's me trying to share the information, trying to make me better technically, because now I got to explain it to. It's one thing for you to understand something, but I'm sure y'all heard this. This is another thing when you could teach it to somebody and somebody can, you could teach it to a 5-year-old or something and they can really understand it. And that was like the main point for me to even start this YouTube channel, is for me to level up so that I can start increasing my level of proficiency. No, I'm not aspiring to be like the authority on computer networking, but in this IT industry, I'm definitely aspiring to get up there to where I'm up there, you feel me? Definitely for that bag, and just so that I could challenge myself and become the best version of myself. Again, that wraps up this video. There's so many different ways, so don't let nobody play you and make you think that there's only one certain way. Again, like I said, you have to be passionate and get all the certs and get all the degrees. No, that's not the way. Like I said, I've seen people do it without that. Even to this day, there's people that don't have certs and all of this stuff and never have got one and are still killing it. So, but if I had to do it all over again, those are the 3 things I would definitely focus on. Number 1 is just setting goals for myself. Number 2 is going to be that hands-on practical application, being able to like really understand what I'm doing with the technology, really understanding at an in-depth level, not just at that basic awareness level of the technology, really understand what the routing table and all of that kind of stuff is doing. And then thirdly, just documenting the whole journey along the way, making sure that I got a good foundation, solid knowledge base to where I can just recall the information pretty much at will, even in these job interviews and everything. That way I could just talk the talk and really walk the walk. Again, guys, if you guys are feeling this content, you made it this far all the way to the end of the video, I appreciate that. Salute to y'all. And it really helps the algos. Go ahead and subscribe and like the channel, and definitely drop in the comments what more do y'all want to see, or what didn't y'all like about this video. Let me know where I can improve and everything, so I can help grow this channel and y'all can help me grow, and I really appreciate that. I'm gonna holler at y'all on that next video. As always, peace. Holla at me.